This is the Nikon D3200. I'm just going to show you some of the basics that you'll need to know before you can go out and film. To start off with, this is the main camera body. If you've used a DSLR before, it shouldn't be too different from what you've done, whether that's for photos or for video. So to start off with, we just need to remove this dust cap. You do that just by twisting and it will just come off easily like that. You then want to quickly attach the lens before you get any dust or fibres into the camera. You remove the plastic cap on the bottom of the lens. You then want to align the two white dots like so. It'll then go inside and you can just twist until you hear the click. The lens is then attached. You then need to unlock the lens before you can shoot or do anything. It's currently on L, we need to move it to 18. You do this by pressing and holding the lens button and just twisting to 18. That'll unlock the lens, allowing you to zoom in and out, and also to use the focus ring. So that's unlocked. We now need to insert the battery. So if you flip the camera over so you can see the bottom of the camera body, you can just unlatch the battery flap. So unlatch that, and then we just need to insert the battery the correct way round. So insert it, the little orangey yellow clip will move aside and then it will click over it and it's secured in. Then close the battery door again, flip the camera back. Now on the side we've got the SD card slot, so we just need to slide that open, grab your SD card and you can just slot that in. As simple as that. So you just click it in and the light will come on, and that's secure in there. You just shut your the door there again, and just slide it open once you're done. Obviously make sure once you finish filming you turn the camera off before you do this, and eject the SD card. It's ready then to pop into your computer and transfer over your footage. For now, let's just slot that back in. Okay, so that's your camera set. We just now need to turn it on and get into the settings. So to turn it on, we just flick this switch here to on. You'll then be greeted with this screen. Okay, to start off with, it said the subject is too dark. We need to take off the lens cap. So to do this, you just need to pinch and pop it off. The lens cap is then off. Make sure you put all these bits in your camera bag just to make sure you don't lose them, and so they're safe. You'll notice that screen has now disappeared. That's just a timeout function. It hasn't turned off your camera. You just need to press the info button again to get it to return. You've then got some of your main settings written here. Just your main info screen. So you've got your iris inside your lens there, just showing how wide it is, that it's letting as much light in as possible. You've got your shutter speed, your f-stop and your ISO, what your white balance is, and that you currently in manual mode. So manual mode is what you're going to want to be in all the time. So always make sure that your mode dial is set to M. That's basically for manual. If you put it on auto, if you're taking photos, that's fine. But for video, auto function won't work. So it'll allow you to record, but unless you're adjusting your focus or adjusting your iris, your aperture, your f-stop for how much light you want in and out, it basically won't work. So all you'll do is end up with some overexposed video footage that is out of focus because you put it on auto thinking the camera will do it for you, but it won't. So you want to make sure it's always on manual, which is the M, so just make sure you leave it there. We then want to jump into the settings. So to do that, you press the menu button. You've got a few different settings. So you've got your playback menu, you've got your shooting menu, you've got your setup menu, and you've got your retouch menu, and then just recent settings, which is just random ones that you've been in recently to adjust. Okay, so if we scroll up to the top, playback menu. Don't need that at the minute. So shooting menu. Again, you use this multi-selector here, which allows you to go left, right, up, down, and press OK to enter a particular setting you want to alter. So currently in the shooting menu, we'll go in here and we will scroll through and see what we find. Okay, so to start off with, let's start at the top then. Set picture control. This is for photography, so you can just leave that at SD. Image quality is set to fine, which is perfectly okay, unless you want raw images as well for editing. Then you might want to turn on like raw and fine, or just raw, completely up to you. Image size is medium, again that's for photography, so that's fine. Some of these you won't ever really need to touch, it's just making sure no one else is fiddled with it. White balance I will cover in another video, where we'll go into more detail about how you set it properly, but for just getting out there and filming, I would always leave it on auto, just for quick and speedy if you need it, auto. But obviously if you're on your proper shoot, you're going to want to make sure that you set it to make sure you've got your white balance correct. So for auto for quick stuff, and then preset manual to set your white balance properly, but you will need a white piece of paper or grey piece of paper or card. We then scroll down to movie settings. So these are what you're going to want to make sure always right. So frame size dash frame rate. So that's 1920, 1080, 25p, which is what you want. Full HD, 25 frames per second, because we are in England. You can always have it at 1920, 1080p, 24 frames per second, and that's the American, but it also gives the video a bit more of a filmy look, it is said. Movie quality, you want that set to high. Microphone, the internal microphone on this camera isn't very good. You will get a lot of camera noise. However, you can attach external microphone using the shoe mount here, and also just plugging it into the jack port there. So you can get a better Rode microphone attached to the camera, but you will want to leave it on auto sensitivity, because you can't manually adjust the sensitivity while recording. So just leave it on auto sensitivity for now. So if we go out of that, and then manual movie settings needs to make sure that it is on. Okay, so that's all set. So if we continue to scroll through, the shooting menu is then done. If you then go up to setting menu, again starting from the top, you've got format memory card. You're going to want to do this after you've finished filming. Once you've transferred all your footage onto your computer and backed it up and it's safe and secure, before you hand the camera back, you're going to want to format the memory card. You do that by pressing OK, and then all images on the memory card will be deleted. Hit yes. Obviously do not do this until you have backed up your footage, otherwise it will be gone forever. There's no way to get it back. It'll just be gone. You're just making sure that no one else can take any of your videos that you filmed, or look at them if you don't want them to look at them, and it'll stop the memory cards getting backed up as well. Okay, so make sure you do that before you hand in the camera. Okay, so we scroll down. Video mode, you're going to want to make sure is on PAL, because we're in England, and NTSC is for America. So make sure we're on PAL. That's got to do with TV settings. I won't go into it right now. And that's all you want to do in this one. So again, retouching you won't need to touch, and recent settings, you'll just see some of the ones that I've recently been in. So that's the settings done for now. So to exit the menu again, just press the menu button, and you're back to this screen. Okay, so this is where you can adjust most of your main settings. For example, how much light the camera lets in, your shutter speed, your ISO, for example. So this is the bit that you need to, after you've checked your main settings, this will be the bits that you'll need to do before every single shot that you take. Okay, so shutter speed is currently 1/50. You're going to want to leave that at 1/50. There's no need to adjust it, but if you do adjust it, it'll be through the scroller here. Just scrolling backwards and forwards, it adjusts to 1/50. You also use this scroller to adjust your f-stop and your ISO, so you need to be careful that you hold the correct buttons down while adjusting the f-stop and the ISO, which I'm going to show you how to do now. Okay, so to start off with, the f-stop is your aperture. It's basically how much light your lens, the iris inside your lens, lets in. So if it's dark, you're going to want it on f3.5, which is as wide as this lens will go. So to adjust it, you press and hold down the aperture iris button, which is this one with a plus and minus on, and the little iris icon. So you press and hold that down, get the info screen back on, you press and hold that down, and you can just scroll up, again using the same scroller, and scroll down. Again, from the little icon there, you can see the irises opening and closing. So when you're inside, natural light inside generally isn't very good. So unless you've got lights, you're going to want it on about f3.5, which is as low as it'll go, which is letting in as much natural light as possible. But if you go outside and it isn't very and it's very kind of bright, you're going to want to make it slightly darker, so you're going to want to close that iris up. So generally you're probably looking at f16, f18 maybe, or even higher, judging on how bright it is for a day. But that's up to you. Again, you'll have to jump between live view, which I'll talk to you about in a minute, which basically shows you your shot, and the info screen to adjust your f-stop. So you just have to keep on checking back to make sure it's light or dark enough for you. But for now, I'll put it back on f3.5. So that's the f number. So that's the main one you want to adjust with regards to how light or dark your shot is. So if you're inside and it's light, but it's obviously not overly light, you're going to want to make sure it's on f3.5 to let as much light in as possible. One thing I will note is when you're zooming in and out, because this lens was made this way, when you zoom in, it drops to f5.6, so you lose some of that light when you zoom in. It's annoying, but can't be helped. So you want to make sure, if it's not very light inside or wherever you are shooting, you want to make sure you're keeping as much natural light coming into the camera. So stay zoomed all the way out and just move closer to your subject if you can. Obviously, if you can't, bit of a pain, but don't worry about it, because there is another way around it. That moves us on to ISO. To adjust your ISO, you press and hold down the FN button. So again, make sure you press and hold it. You can then scroll up, you'll see ISO written there, and you can go up and down, up and down. Again, that basically the ISO adjusts how sensitive the sensor inside your camera is to light. So it will basically tell your camera, oh, it needs to be more sensitive to light. So it'll allow the image to get brighter, or it'll allow the image to get darker. So let's jump into live view now. Live view, as you can see, is basically what you're currently shooting. To get that, you just press the live view button. So to get back to the main info screen, you press it again. So here, this is when you're ready to shoot now. So you'll notice the little red box, which is where you're kind of focusing on. So to adjust your ISO when you're like this, again, press the FN button. You'll see ISO lights up. You can then scroll up and you'll notice it gets brighter and brighter. And again, it gets darker and darker. What you want to make sure before you start using an ISO is that you've got your f-stop at 3.5 before you do. So make sure your lens is letting in as much light before you then make it more sensitive to light. So for example, inside, f3.5 and f200 or f400 is generally fine, judging on how dark your room is. But let's put that back on f200 for now. If you're outside and it's dark, so for example you're shooting at night, you will want it on f3.5 and you will want to up your ISO. You can go up to 1000, well, you can go up higher. You can go up to H1.0 or 6400, but I wouldn't suggest going any higher than 800 if possible, at a maximum 1600, because you'll notice your image starts to get very grainy. So try and stick to a maximum of 800. If you have to go, do it, but try and stick to a maximum of 800 and a lowest one of 200, because that's as low as it'll go when shooting video. Okay, so that's how you adjust your ISO here. To adjust your f-stop, like I said before, you can't do it while in live view, which is annoying, so you do have to turn off live view and go back to the info screen and press and hold your aperture iris button and start scrolling. Again, it just means that you have to kind of jump between the two, which is annoying, but you can't do much about it. So you just have to kind of do that to adjust your f-stop. So again, leave it on 3.5, press live view when you're ready to go. You're then ready to shoot. But before you can shoot, you need to focus. To focus, like I said before, you can use the focus ring. Pretty simple. You see your subject, you can literally just focus on it. Obviously, if you're quite far away, you might be struggling to see whether it's in focus. You have a plus and minus magnifying glass here. It basically gives you an artificial zoom, which allows you to zoom in to make sure that you're focused correctly. And then you can then zoom out. It's just like a focus assist. you know that you're completely in focus then, ready to record. Okay, so once you're ready to record, you've done your white balance, you've made sure your lighting is correct, you've focused it, you're ready to hit record. You do that by just pressing the record button, the little red dot on the top of your camera. Press that and you're good to record. You're then recording. You've got your audio levels there, so you can see your microphone levels, and it's recording. And you literally just press it again and it'll stop recording. You'll see there that you have a maximum record length of 20 minutes per shot. You won't need to go over that. I wouldn't have thought you'll ever do a shot that's longer than 20 minutes long, so that's not anything to worry about. You might have just seen me earlier, a second ago, just if you press the info button down, you can adjust the information that's on your screen. So you can give yourself a little grid as well, if that'll help you kind of move things around in your shot. I generally go for this one because it has everything I need for video. It's got my audio levels, got my shutter speed, my aperture, f-stop, and my ISO. It also tells me my white balance is currently auto and I'm on manual. So that's everything that you need for that. So obviously you're good to start recording now. To play things back, you've just got your playback icon there. Just click on that. And again, you can scroll through your shots. I've only done one, and you can just press OK, and it'll start playing it back. Again, you just press that button again, the playback button, and you're back to your main menu with your info even. So that's everything you need to know, really. That's good enough to get you out there filming. I will do some more videos to show you a bit more detailed of the basic aperture, focus, white balance and such. But once you've done, again, make sure you turn off your camera between shots, otherwise you will drain the battery quite quickly if it's just left on. So between shots, just while you're setting up your shot, make sure you turn it off. And again, lock the lens once you're done. Reattach your lens cap, just pinch and attach. To detach the lens, press and hold the button down that's on the camera body. Detach it. Attach your the dust cap for your lens, your plastic one, and then just reattach the dust cap of your camera body. And then you're set. So you want to also take your battery out. You don't want to leave your battery in. So just slide that out and put that back into your bag, obviously. And again, you can take your SD card out when you're ready to transfer over your footage when you're back at your computer. And that's it. So one last thing, just while I remember, on your lens, you've got your A and your M. That's automatic and manual. Again, you're always going to want that on manual, so you're manually focusing and zooming. And VR is vibration reduction, so if you're shaking, if you're doing a bit of handheld, you're always going to want that on. So VR on, and automatic and manual set to manual, and that's your lens. And that is everything you need to know to get you set and ready for filming.